It's a wonderful day in West Virginia. Welcome to the Daily 304 Innovators and Entrepreneurs feature. Here at the Daily 304, we are committed to sharing the wealth, beauty, opportunity, and innovation that's here in wonderful Almost Heaven, West Virginia. Twice a month, we introduce you to innovators and entrepreneurs and dig a little deeper into their companies, their work, their purpose, and the reasons they are here in the Mountain State and proud to call themselves West Virginia. We've wrapped up our first 10 episodes. So today, we're doing things a little differently by sharing the advice of our successful entrepreneurs with you. We're looking forward to many more thought-provoking, insightful conversations as we gear up for our next round of entrepreneur interviews. Until then, enjoy the wisdom we've received so far. But what's the one thing that we could put out there for folks to consider and possibly look at how they're structuring their business, how they're going to look at their revenue generation, and how they're going to live their purpose of their business? And you brought up a pyramid, and if you could just walk me through those three stages that you saw in your career serving as a consultant, as an engineer, as an economic developer, working in healthcare in the legal field, and now doing another endeavor in innovation for hacking wisdom. What's that pyramid look like, and could you go through those three steps for me?
Sure, Andy, I'd be glad to. We call it the value pyramid, and I think any entrepreneur or business leader would need to understand the levels of value that they can deliver to their customers. The base level of our pyramid, the bottom layer, was we could sell our services, our hours. We had service hours to offer, and customers would pay for those because they needed to get things done. Moving up a level, the middle value, and that charging more dollars per hour because it was more valuable, was for us to offer ideas. And so ideas are more valuable than time. And so we could charge more, we could demand more value, and we created more value with our ideas. Concepts could be naming a product, could be helping to name a company, launch a brand, design something, graphic design, product design. So that's the middle layer. The top layer was the ultimate value that we could offer to our clients, was influence. We could help to lead change and to drive change for new ideas, new regulatory reforms, perhaps new legislation. And so at the top of the pyramid, that was the highest value that we could create and deliver, and it costs more. We charge more to our clients for that. Hopefully that illustrates that each business, each entrepreneur, each team of business leaders needs to understand their value pyramid and what customers are willing to pay for each layer of value across that pyramid structure.
What do you say to your employees or others in the space that you're in about how to stay motivated and creative and move forward?
Yeah, so I think, as I've stated, I think there's a tremendous resource in West Virginia. The people there are that resource. One thing that I do a lot of is maybe a little bit of cheerleading when people are maybe somewhat intimidated when they're on a meeting with MIT or some Silicon Valley startup, thinking that they're, imposter syndrome, right? That they don't belong there, when in fact they do. And in many cases, they have more expertise in the area we're talking about than the client in this case. And I just have to remind people, no, you got this, you know your stuff. And in some cases, the very acceptable answer is, well, I don't know right now, but I will find out. And sometimes people aren't comfortable with that response, but often that is completely legitimate. And again, I would just say, spend a lot of time building confidence in the team.
You're a seventh generation salt maker. The product's been around for a while. How do you keep yourself looking at your product and your industry and your capabilities in a unique and innovative way? What's something that you and your team do?
Well, we've really got back to basics when we revived this business. Our ancestors made the salt using fossil fuels, timber and coal to stoke big furnaces. We have taken the approach where we want to have a very low environmental footprint, so we rely on Mother Nature for everything, and we're actually just starting our salt making season now because the sun is coming back out. But we I think our innovation lies mostly with community partnerships and what that can bring to a company. And that's why we started the Appalachian Mercantile, which is a shop and a subscription box business where we've partnered with other Appalachian makers. And we want to share those items with the world because there's so much quality craftsmanship here in Appalachia. And that really is something that nobody else is doing. And so we want to share that and take advantage of what we have here in the state and the region and share it with the world.
What are those things that you could give to other entrepreneurs and other people in West Virginia that are trying to be innovative as to how they can keep that battery charged to keep inventing new things for themselves and for their business?
My recommendation to people is you have to enjoy learning and you have to constantly seek out new opportunities to stay in front of technology. Technology changes so fast. With the stuff that we're doing today, they weren't teaching in school 10 years ago. A lot of it, they're just now getting around to teaching it in school. So you have to kind of stay up with technology. There's a big move now from everything's moving to the cloud. So, going out on your own, taking the initiative to go out and learn these new technologies before they start becoming more mainstream is the type of stuff that you have to look at doing. Which, as a company, we encourage our employees to do that. We have a lot of different training programs and training opportunities. And as we target these future capabilities that are coming out, we try to stay ahead of the curve and see the things coming down the road and get our employees up to speed before they get here.
So what I heard is, what is the competitive advantage to being here? And then if any advice that you could give the innovators and entrepreneurs that are watching and listening today, what would you give them? What nugget could you give them?
Yeah, let's tackle, Andy, our competitive advantage first, because I think we are just we're unexpectedly cool by the way of West Virginia. I think, you don't oftentimes think about coming to West Virginia to build a technology company. And I would tell you the atmosphere, the energy, the outdoors, for all the reasons that individuals are increasingly moving to West Virginia, one might consider that a competitive advantage. That's certainly very obvious, but the non-obvious competitive advantage is something that we've known as West Virginians our whole lives, and that's the sense of community that exists and rallies around these entrepreneurs. You never really build a company by yourself. I know we're all infatuated with the single founder story like Steve Jobs or Mark Zuckerberg, but the reality is a startup is a combination of a lot of contributions from a lot of people. And West Virginia in particular has a very strong sense of community. So the competitive advantage for West Virginia is that you can actually fit people around the table to help advance your idea. And I've built 3 companies in a different ecosystem, and I promise you, I had to knock on a lot more doors than I have to in West Virginia to get help.
Could you share something like that has helped you in your entrepreneurial efforts, or what you tell your customers, your clients?
I think one of the most important things is to find a mentor, to find somebody who's gone before you, who has been successful in creating a business. It's tough. And you can learn all those lessons that they probably went through. And so let's make original mistakes as best as we can. And one way to do that is finding a mentor and just having conversations with them and helping them lead you through some of the challenges that you're likely to face.
What would you share with them?
Just, perseverance and, stick to your guns. I mean, we opened, Barcada's opened 3 weeks before the pandemic. And then everything else is opened during the pandemic. Besides Ellen's, it was a 25-year great staple that we wanted to make sure that continued. But I think, overcoming adversity is the number one thing. Staying positive and really embracing and realizing that the human resources that are around you, your team, your staff, your partners, are your most important. So don't ever lose sight of, it's not just me, it's us. And I think that's the huge thing.
What's something that you think is key in taking an idea from the back of a napkin to
Sure.
scale it to market, what would that be?
I'd have to repeat the advice from Marshall's president, Brad Smith, who's an expert in this field. But fall in love with your problem, not your solution, and understand your problem that you're trying to solve, who it's going to help, and empathize with that potential customer, and that'll help lead you to your best innovation instead of falling in love with your first idea around a solution and then making it necessarily fit all the problems. Understand and empathize with that problem and who the future customer will be first.
As I mentioned, we've got a short show here. So if you could give innovators and entrepreneurs a piece of advice that would keep them going, because if you're failing fast, you're failing. And
Yes.
the thing that's nice is you're surrounded by the hills and mountains of West Virginia and nice people. But what's the kind of advice that you give to the folks that are sitting there trying to figure out how to create the next Menlo Park in the northern panhandle of West Virginia?
So most entrepreneurs don't fail, they give up. It's really interesting. If you stick with something long enough, usually you can find your way. But sometimes it's hard, and sometimes it's painful, and sometimes it's embarrassing, right? If you can't make payroll, that's like the most embarrassing thing ever. Luckily, I've not had that, but I've been really close to it in the early years, over and over. I was right up against it month after month. You just have to live through that time period, and you get through it. So I would say companies that fail don't really fail, people just quit.
Maybe starting out in the basement of an old monastery gave you that foundation to not quit, not give up, accept things as they are, and keep going.
Yeah, I think so. That could very well be, yeah.
I'm sure you'll agree. We have so many wise, incredible entrepreneurs in our state. I can't wait to see what the next 10 have to say. As always, thank you for being with us for another episode of Innovators and Entrepreneurs from the Daily 304. If you're new to the channel, be sure to like and subscribe so you can keep up to date with all the great things happening in Almost Heaven, West Virginia. Until next time, take care, be safe, and enjoy all the opportunity that West Virginia has to offer.